Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. So, I'm Lamia Zerora, and I'm an account executive at Royal Cyber, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this session today. So, we're very excited to dive into an important conversation around unlocking the true value of your enterprise data through effective data governance. So, I'll be kicking off today's session alongside my colleagues, Sourav Roy, our senior client partner, and Awais Tariq, who's our practice head for business intelligence. So, together, we'll actually guide you through the challenges organizations and customers face with regards to data governance and how to turn those challenges into actual measurable outcomes. So in this session, we'll explore how enterprise can move beyond just managing data to truly governing it in a way that creates measurable business value. So the reality is that most of the organizations today are sitting on a gold mine of data, but without the right governance in place, that data remains fragmented, inconsistent, and sometimes underutilized. And that's where Royal Cyber actually comes in. So we've been helping organizations shift from data chaos to data confidence. And that's through centralized governance frameworks, smart cataloging tools, and practical implementation strategies. So over the next few slides, we'll walk you through the challenges businesses face, our proven resolution techniques, and how we've helped clients to drive impact with real world use cases. So yeah, let's dive in and explore how, mastering governance and cataloging can actually reshape the way your organization makes decisions, and how it can make also help you ensure trust and gain competitive advantage. So as for the agenda for today, here's a quick look of how it will, look like. So we'll begin first with data governance challenges, outlining, the key issues organization face. Next, we'll cover Royal Cyber's resolution technique, showcasing, our approach to overcoming these challenges through centralized data governance. Then we'll dive into, key pillars of enterprise data governance. Following that, we will walk you through the Royal Cyber's governance framework. And to support this, we'll look at centralized data catalogs, which are just the foundations for discovery, lineage, and metadata management. We'll then move to the compliance without compromise, which will show you how regulations like GDPR and HIPAA can be embedded into your data lifecycle. And after that, we'll review the implementation playbook. We'll also share real-world use cases, which is one of the most exciting parts. And finally, we'll wrap up with the next steps to help you begin, your data governance journey with us with Royal Cyber. So moving on to the next slide. So let's start first by addressing the core challenges that most enterprises are facing when it comes to data governance. And this is like what we actually have been hearing a lot from our customers. First, we have data silos. And so in many organizations, data is spread across departments, systems, and tools, which creates a very disconnected views and, duplicated efforts sometimes. And this fragmentation actually makes it hard to get a very complete and a trusted picture, which sucks, I know. So the next one is, inconsistent data quality. So without a standardized processes, data becomes unreliable, and that actually leads to delays, second guessing, and sometimes can lead also to decision paralysis. Compliance and complexity is also, another major concern. And so without regulations like GDPR, HIPAA, CCPA evolving rapidly, organizations need a very rigorous tracking and clear audit trails, which, most of the organizations unfortunately lack today. Then there is the limited self-service. And so or business users actually often can't access or understand the data they need without relying on IT, which most of the time actually slows down, innovation and responsiveness. And finally, we have the unclear data ownership. And so you can agree with me in this one. When roles and responsibilities aren't clearly defined, accountability breaks down and data management becomes reactive instead of like being strategic. So these challenges that I just mentioned are more or less, interconnected, and, if left unaddressed, they can actually prevent organizations from realizing the full value of their data. And that's where we help actually. So yeah, moving on to the next slide. Yeah, now let's take a look at how Royal Cyber actually addresses these challenges with, practical proven techniques, and that's the part that I love to discuss the most with my customers. So to break down data silos, we implement centralized data catalogs that enable cross-departmental access. So this actually creates a unified view of your data, helping teams collaborate in the most efficient, effective, and seamless ways possible. To tackle the inconsistent data quality, we implement enterprise-wide frameworks, with built-in validation rules and clear metrics. And that is basically to ensure your data is accurate, reliable, and ready for confident decision making. When it comes to compliance risk, our approach includes, governance tools with built-in audit trails and automated regulatory reporting, helping organizations like yours stay ahead of evolving regulations. And to solve the problem of limited access, we create intuitive self-service platforms with business-friendly interfaces so users can easily find and use the data they need without waiting on IT, which can be a burden sometimes. So, and finally, to address the ownership confusion, we help define and assign formal data stewardship roles supported by clear responsibility matrices across the organization that you're working for. And so all these techniques are part of a structured and scalable approach that turns governance from a burden into a strategic advantage for your business. So now that we have actually seen how challenges can be addressed, let's take a closer look at, the core building blocks that make enterprise data governance sustainable in a way. And so at Royal Cyber, we love to name this and define them as the three key pillars. First of all, we have the policies and the standards, and these are nothing but, the rules of engagement, which are clear guidelines for how data should be created, shared, used, and sometimes retired. And so when aligned with business objectives, these standards create consistency and trust across the organization. The second pillar is the roles and responsibilities. And so successful governance isn't just about tools. And I don't know if you agree with me, it's about the people. And so what we do and our approach is we help organizations define who is responsible for what, whether, the data owners, the stewards, or the custodians, ensuring that accountability is never something in question for you. And finally, we have the metrics and monitoring, which is, governance specific, I would say pillar. So, and we know that governance is not, a one-time setup. It's actually, requires a very continuous evaluation. And what we do is we implement data quality metrics, dashboards, and regular audits to monitor compliance, track improvement, and adapt to changes. And so these pillars provide the foundation for, long-term governance success, ensuring data is not just managed, but it's also actively driving value that your business is looking for from the very beginning. So now that we have actually covered, the key challenges, solutions, and governance pillars, the next step is very exciting, which is, turning these ideas into a clear, practical approach. And so to walk you through our framework and how it helps organizations and our customers as well put governance in action, I'll hand it over to Awais, our BI practice head. So over to you, Awais.
Thank you, Lamia. Thank you for the initial introduction and laying the foundation of data governance framework. Now, we last talked about the pillars, right? Now, in order to build those pillars, there has to be some sort of a framework. Now, Royal Cyber, whenever we engage in data governance projects, so Royal Cyber has a foundation of or an approach of five-phased pillar approach or a five-phase framework. Now, what does this framework looks like and what each of these phases, entails? So, for example, if we talk about discovery, obviously, by the name discovery means that, we have to do a groundwork. And there are three key areas that, we specifically look into before, when this discovery phase is happening. Now, first key area or activity in discovery is establishing scope and identifying the stakeholders. Now, this is the crucial moment for defining the boundaries of data governance initiative and identifying all relevant individuals or groups who will be impacted by or contributing to the governance effort. Now, the emphasis is on key stakeholder over here, because we have seen in many occasions that when we actually go into projects to our customers, right, they know the business areas, they know the data points, they know the you can say the operational points, but we have rarely seen that there is a proper ownership of these key areas among the stakeholders, right? So that's where we do a discovery of what are the data points and who are the stakeholders who will be linked to it. Second activity that we do in the discovery phase is what is the vision of the company, what are the goals, and what is the end game or the objective of that organization. Now, this step involves understanding why data governance is needed. And this understanding, we know the importance of data governance, but this understanding, this why, is emphasized and shown to the customer as well, that why this governance is needed, what are the gaps, what are the opportunities, and once those gaps are fulfilled using governance, then what would be the smart objectives or the smart goals we can achieve based on that. Now this ensures alignment and broader business strategy. The third key area that or activity that we do in the discovery phase is build the cases for change. Now, when we talk about cases for change, sorry, one second, cases for change, yeah. So this is basically we are articulating the compelling reason for implementing data governance. And this is basically, to get the buy-in from all the relevant stakeholders that these are the areas, these are the opportunities that we need to fulfill in order to, and to achieve the business vision, the business goal, or the objectives as well. Now, once that discovery phase is over, then we start creating a baseline. Now, when we say baseline, what do we mean by that? Now, baseline is the basic, you can say the foundation of that particular framework, the governance framework. Now, in baseline, there are three key activities that we normally do. Now, we establish the target data governance maturity model. Now, when I say this, what does this activity entails and what does this activity do? So basically, it involves defining the desired level of data governance maturity that the organization needs to achieve. And this often refers to industry standard maturity models. Example, we have CMMI for data management, DAMA or DMBOK maturity levels. So these are different types of levels that the industry or the organization need to go to, and we give them an explanation of the interpretation of these models, and then customer needs to understand that okay, which level they need to set their eyes on. Now once that is the target have been established, then we assess the baselines against data governance framework. Now what do I mean by that? Now this is basically a diagnostic step where the current state of the data management and governance practices within the organization is evaluated. So we have a ton of data. We have different areas, but we need to analyze that how good that data is and what is the current governance level on on the current data that we have. Is it basic, medium, or even sometimes advanced as well? But we do that assessment or diagnosis in this key activity. Then in this baseline, we create the last activity that we do is review the data architecture. Now, that is again very critical because we need to understand that what is the existing architecture or existing data environment that the customer have. This includes, all the data sources that they have, the data flows that have been created, what is their data storage mechanism, data ingestion points, and how data is consumed by various applications and reporting tools. Now, this helps us to identify architectural limitations or opportunities for improving from a governance perspective. So this is basically baseline. Then we move on to the third part of our framework, that is target, what we need to achieve. Now, in this third pillar, you can say the pillar of this framework, target, there are again three key activities that we perform. The first one is defining organizational structure and role. So earlier we have emphasized on the data stewards or the data owners. So here basically once the baseline have been set, the we have identified and well aware of the entire architecture. We have all the data in place. Now we need to decide who will be responsible for which area and who will be the custodian of that particular data point. Now we call them as data stewards. So this happens in this first activity. The second activity is defining the governance processes. So again, once that is fine, that stewards have been assigned and everything is well, but now we need to have a process in place to uphold till this part that we have reached. Now, when we say processes, right? So basically in this activity, we focuses on outlining detailed operational procedures for data governance. Now, this may include processes for data quality management, metadata management, data lifecycle management, issue resolution, and policy enforcement. So once the processes of this have been defined, then we move on to the third activity of this third pillar, target, identifying the data policy and standards. Now, this basically involves creating or refining the formal rules and guidelines that governs how data is managed, used, and protected through its life cycles. Now, for example, if we look at data classification policies, we can look at data classification policies or data retention policies or data quality standards or even access control policies. So basically right now we are identifying what policies are in place, what is missing, what is left on the table, and what are the opportunities to making that entire data environment more robust through this activity. Now, once we have achieved, this third activity in this third pillar of the framework, the fourth one is the roadmap. Obviously, the target have been set, the process have been defined. We have identified all the relevant stakeholders. Now we need to have a clear roadmap that, okay, what will happen down the line, how it will get implemented, all that. So the first activity we do in our roadmap, pillar, the first activity, conducting the gap analysis. Now, what do we mean by that? Basically, we systematically compares the current baseline state, that is from phase 2, with the desired target state, that is from phase 3, to identify the specific gaps that needs to be addressed. Now, this analysis helps us to pinpoint what needs to be built, changed, or improved. So basically, we are doing an analysis till the phase 3 or the third pillar, what we have done, and see if there are any gaps left that needs to be revamped or plugged in. Then we need to prioritize and identify that which area that we need to improve first. So based on the gap analysis, what we did earlier, we do a list of specific activities and projects required to bridge those gaps that have been identified. They are then prioritized based on factors such as business impact, feasibility, cost, and interdependencies. Now, once that is done, that have been finalized and prioritized, then we move on to the development, or you can say, the starting of the implementation phase. That is where, we start developing the data management roadmap. Now, in this activity, what we do is that we lay out a very comprehensive roadmap detailing the sequence of projects, timelines, resources, requirements, key milestones, and dependencies for the entire data governance implementation journey. So basically, this last step of the roadmap or activity of the roadmap, it provides a clear long-term plan for transformation of data within that organization. Now, once that have been finalized, we move on to our last pillar or phase of the framework, that is rollout. Now, in rollout, what we do, there are again three key activities in this rollout phase. When we talk about governance, we fill governance roles and establish structures. Now, what we do in this activity, so this basically involves appointing individuals to the defined data governance roles, and establishing the necessary organizational structures to operationalize the framework. Now, once that is done, then we move on to the communication and the training aspect of it. So this is a very crucial activity because sometimes what we have seen, there are people within the organization that are resistant to change, meaning that yes, I mean they have wealth of knowledge, they have good information, but if new things come in, so there is always a resistance to change. So that's where we come in. It's a crucial step that we train and we give them the right communication. So basically what we do is that we do a comprehensive training programs that are rolled out to relevant stakeholders on new policies, processes, and tools. Effective communication strategies are implemented to inform the entire organization about the changes, their benefits, and their role in data governance. So that is the training and communication activity that we do. The third activity of this last pillar of our framework is the monitoring part, because uh, if things are implemented, processes are placed, and they are not monitored or they are not being checked, that what is the performance impact of it, right? So that entire activity goes to waste. So there we apply, this performance mechanism in data governance, which is basically an ongoing journey. It's not going to be a one-stop thing or just 1 week of monitoring of performance. So we lay out a plan how the monitoring and performance gauging will be done, and then it is handed over to the customer. So it is an ongoing process. And the beauty of this last step is that when we are gauging and monitoring the performance, we additional see that what else that needs to be done in this governance framework. So in this way, it's a continuous evolution. The framework growth never stops. The governance keeps on evolving and evolving. So that is basically, the governance framework we implement whenever we go with our customers and potential customers as well. Now, once the framework is in place, we need to discuss uh, the data catalogs, centralization of data catalogs. Now, why we are highlighting? So there are other areas in governance as well, but the centralization of data catalog builds the foundation of a good data governance practice. And why we are emphasizing on that? Because right now the three key areas of centralizing that data catalogs is enhanced metadata management, intuitive data discovery, end-to-end data lineage. Now I'll just quickly go through these three areas of the foundation of these centralized data catalogs to show the importance of why we need to do this, right? Now, when we talk about enhanced metadata management, so it is a comprehensive tracking of technical, business, and operational metadata for complete context. It is crucial for understanding the lineage, the quality, and the business meaning of data assets. So it is key part of this. Um, Intuitive data discovery. What do we mean by that? Now, the search and browse capabilities. Now, one of the difficult thing that we have faced, and what Lamia told earlier as well, that if you need to browse a certain area, the customer or the business or the management always go to some IT expert within the organization or even with vendors that, okay, I need to see, data pertaining to this area. So it's a cumbersome process. What we do over here is that, we create those search and browse capabilities that enables the business user to do this discovery themselves. And this all happens in data cataloging if it is properly built. And the final thing is the end-to-end data lineage. Now, uh, in a recent project of mine, what I have faced earlier, so there was a change of management, right? There was a new BI manager who came into the picture, and he asked that, okay, can you tell me that, the data sources that we have, and do we have any data lineage? Now, the good thing about is that we already had built data lineage for that particular customer. So basically what it does is that it helps you in visually tracing data from source to consumption. It also enables you to do impact analysis and, a trust in reporting that yes, everything is coming in, as per the business wants. Now, having that lineage, it makes the transition of any new employee to your data, to your infrastructure, to your environment very easy. Now, this end-to-end data lineage is part of the cataloging. So if it is there, it would be just plug and play for any person in the organization to understand what type of data we have, how to browse through that data, and what is the flow of data from source to its destination. So don't need to rely on any, technical person on that. Now, that was the importance of, the creating a centralized data catalogs. We discussed what are the three foundations that we build whenever we have to create these data catalogs. Moving to the next area is this is one of the areas that have been overlooked by many organizations and they don't know the importance, right? So it's compliance. Now, when we say about compliance, so we are sitting in different regions, different countries, different states as well. Now, each of these countries, states, and regions have different rules and regulations or auditory compliance, mandatory things that needs to happen. Many of the organizations are not aware of it, and when the audit comes, everyone is scrambling to do this compliance regulatory thing where it could have been done very earlier. Now, if we talk about some of the more used compliance or areas that the audit do happen, so we can talk about GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, or data privacy consent, rights to be forgotten. Now, this regulation we have seen that especially for the European customers that we have, it's mandatory, and if it is not upheld, yes, then during the audit, the customer may come into a lot of problem. Then we can discuss HIPAA. Now, HIPAA is purely US based, so it's related to health insurance and uh, health insurance industries or healthcare industries. So for any health care or health insurance organizations, abiding by HIPAA is very much crucial and essential. Then we talk about SOX, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act deal. It's for the financial reporting accuracy and control. So it is again related to US. It's financial reporting that needs to happen under certain guidelines and rules. And the last is CCPA, right? Consumer privacy, right, and transparency. Now again, this is again a very big thing in nowadays, especially where the privacy of the consumer or the end user is very much regulated. So especially in US as well. So basically, when we talk about these compliance regulatory, right, we need to understand that having a proper data governance helps us to implement these compliance standards, right? The rules and regulations based on whichever region, area, country, or state you're in. So governance helps us to, you can say, safeguard ourselves for future audits and, regulations pertaining to financial transactions, customer data, and even risk management as well. So this is about, the compliance, the importance of compliance in data governance. Now, if we move forward, uh, now, We've talked about framework. We have talked about some of the key ingredients of data governance, data cataloging. We have talked about compliance. Now we need to understand what is the approach of implementing these key parts in you can say in data governance. Now, if you see in this slide over here, on the left-hand side, we have data platforms and we have downstream applications. So I'll break it down into three areas. The left-hand side, the data platforms and downstream application, what is their importance? The third one is the data governance. That is the meat of, how data governance is done. And on the right-hand side, we have, user datas and stewards, and then compliance as well. That makes the entire, the approach of how we implement things. So if we talk about on the left-hand side, right? Now, building and modernizing a unified data platform like Snowflake, Azure, SAP, basically they serve as the foundation for governed, scalable, and secure analytics and operational data products as well. So when we talk about data platform, it means that you need to have a central repository where you are collecting all the information, all the data from different data sources as well, because the data governance is built on that repository. Now, data platform, some of the famous tools that have been used in this data platform, we have mentioned like Snowflake, Azure, SAP, BTP. These are some of the famous tools, but there are other solutions out there, or cloud or on-prem solutions that we can store this data and do data governance on top of it. Now let me tell you about what is the importance of downstream applications. Now, uh, data governance, once it is implemented on data platform, whatever we're using, we need to make sure that the data flow seamlessly to whatever CRM, ERP, AI or ML systems that we have. So in a nutshell, data governance should not be isolated. It must feed consistent high quality data into whatever operational systems we have, like ERP, CRM, any analytical tool that we have like BI dashboards, and even advanced intelligence platforms like machine learning models, right? Because everything is dependent upon the quality and the integrity of data. So this is the downstream application that where this refined data will land into. Now, coming to the third or the middle, or you can say the heart of this approach is basically the data governance. Now, we have already talked about data cataloging. Now, just to give you a quick recap, so we are all very much familiar with Google. A data catalog acts like a Google for your data sets. It enables the users to search, browse, and understand data without technical gatekeeping. Centralized metadata ensures everyone sees the same definitions and context, boosting transparency. Then the second part is business glossary. Now, this is again a very key component because um, business glossary, what we mean is that there is business glossary. Now, technical glossary is related to the developers or the technical team, but business glossary is for the stewards and the higher management as well. They should be able to understand what these technical terms mean in business terminologies. All the KPI, we have to define the KPIs, metrics, and data fields, in a very uniformly manner. A shared language needs to be promoted across the enterprise, with regulatory, analytical, and operational reporting. So basically, this glossary helps in understanding what data that we have, what does it actually means, and we can define KPIs based on the terminologies or the standardized, you can say, shared language across the enterprise, right? So everyone is on the same page. Then comes another very important aspect of data governance, that is the data lineage. Now, we talked earlier that data lineage basically helps transition the entire organization to better understand what's going on from the data perspective in the environment. Because what we have seen in the last two projects, that normally Lamia talked about silos in her earlier slide. So it actually happens in the organization. Everyone is working in silos, right? So this person is have information of these data sources. This team has information of this data warehouse, and this team has information of analytics or where the data is going. So this lineage basically brings everyone together on the same page, that what are the source system, how is the data is flowing, where it is landing, and what is the end result of that landed data, right? In this way, the business truly understands that how the data is moving within their organization. And once you have that visual representation in front of you, you will immediately see, even a layman can immediately see that, okay, what are the gaps and opportunities we can utilize just reviewing that flow or the diagrams of that lineage. Now, moving on to the last part of the governance is data security. Now, in today's world, data security, access control, it is absolutely crucial. The encryption and decrypting of data, it is absolutely crucial for our data to be secured in our environment and not get hijacked in today's world as well. So this governance also helps us to build data security around our entire data environment. And obviously, once that data governance infrastructure is placed in on your data platform, then the stewards and the users are then connected to this data governance model. And then stewards can see what's going on. The owners can see, okay, how the data is moving. Do we need to improve? What needs to be changed? So in this way, it helps in the owners to make key decisions. And obviously, we discussed earlier the compliance part. So obviously, if you are not looking at the compliance aspect of the data governance, so there may come a time that we might get into a lot of trouble because of the auditory mandates that comes from the governments as well. um, Okay, so moving on, so that was one of our the approaches how we implement data governance. Let's talk about playbook, right? So how do we basically do this implementation? So basically, there are three processes we can say, providing a structured roadmap for organizations to follow, right? One is assessment of, sorry, not three, five. So assessment and strategy. This initial phase involves evaluating the current data landscape and its maturity level to develop a tailored governance roadmap. Second one is the foundation building. Once first is done, we go to foundation building. This steps focuses on establishing the core components of data governance. So it includes standardizing the master data entities which are critical for consistent data across the organization. Now, once that foundation building is done, then we go into the integration and enablement. This is all about making data governance operational and embedding it within the organization. Or you can say it involves creating the golden records. So this is how we, integrate and enable the entire organization based on that. And then comes the enhancement. So once everything is in place, so we have AI augmentation in the tools, in the data governance tools. Basically, how AI can significantly enhance data governance capabilities. It automates metadata suggestions, so it can streamline process of tagging and categorizing data as well. So meaning that we don't need to put our brains onto it. These suggestions will come through that AI powered integration in those tools, and it will help us to make decisions quicker and enhance our capability more. And finally, the last part of our playbook is the continuous improvement. uh, Governance, as I mentioned earlier, is an ongoing process. It involves continuous monitoring of data quality through dashboards, tracking various governance, health metrics, assess the effectiveness of the framework, and analyzing usage patterns to identify areas of optimization and refinement. Now, once we have, so that was an overview of our playbook. So let's see that what does the implementation looks like and what do we cover in this execution, right? So that playbook execution plan looks like that from week 1 to 2 we do the assessment. They are dedicated to evaluating the organization's current data landscape, identify existing gaps in data governance, and defining clear objectives that are directly linked to tangible business outcomes. Now, once that assessment is done, we move on to the strategy. Now, over here, we take like week 3 to 4 on this, right? So 2 weeks on this. Basically, after following the assessment, we are focused on developing a comprehensive governance framework, defining specific roles and responsibilities, and establishing robust policies. Now, once that strategy is developed, we get into the technology. Now, over here, we need to understand what kind of a tech stack, we need to implement. Now, it is given a 4 week period because some customers or organization may lean towards a certain tech stack. So we need to analyze what are the pros and cons of that and what is the best fit for that particular organization from the technology perspective. And we even do POCs based on that. So once that is done, we then move on to the adoption, the digestion part. So once the technology is finalized, now over here we are strongly focused on change management strategies, comprehensive training programs for all relevant stakeholders, and diligently measuring usage metrics to track the effectiveness of the adoption efforts. Because as we earlier said, resistance to change happens in all organizations. So this adoption is the journey of the organization into this governance framework. And finally, we have evolution. So that is the final phase. And as I mentioned earlier, the evolution of governance framework or the governance model never stops. We do monitoring, we guide the team how to monitor, how to gauge the performance, and what are gaps and opportunities that we find. We continuously need to evolve our model. So this is all part of the execution plan or how we implement our playbook. Now moving forward, now what would be the benefit of partnering with Royal Cyber? So there are three areas: strategic advisory, implementation expertise, enablement, and training. Now, one thing that I need to focus over here, whenever we get engaged with our customers, we always make sure that it's not a customer vendor relationship. It is a customer consultant relationship, meaning that we are there working with you side by side. It's going to be a kind of a win-win situation for both of us, because we always guide the customers from the strategic angles as well. For example, we when we talk about guidance, data governance, so implementation roadmap that is tailored to them and to the particular industry as well. We always give them, okay, this is basically the direction that we need to give in. So it's like a consultancy model, more like strategic angles that we work with. So we work hand in hand with our customers. Then the implementation expertise. So we have robust team that are well versed in some of the leading tools for data governance implementation in the market right now. So we have the experts, we have the expertise as well for implementing that. And the third thing is enablement and training. Now that is one of a very key important point, right? So normally what we have seen is that sometimes other companies or other vendors sometimes think that if we train our customers, what will happen to us? Our thinking is never like that. We always think that we need to enable our customer, we need to train them, we need to coach them, because our objective is to enable the business to do this governance task themselves, right? Make them proficient enough, knowledgeable enough within the tool and with the information that this governance is showing us, so that they don't need to go to an IT person, they don't need to go to a technical person. They have the knowledge, they have the information to do this, to take strategic decisions themselves. Some of the advantages. Now, we have, covered a lot of this area, earlier as well, but just to quickly go through some of the, implementation expertise regarding governance is if we talk about data cataloging features. So classification, guided stewardship, traceability, crawling. Now, when we talk about crawling, now this many of the things are self-explanatory, but when we talk about crawling, what do we mean by that, right? So basically, when we say crawling, we deploy an automated process of discovering and indexing data assets across the diverse data sources, so making them discoverable within the governance platform and data catalog as well. So uh, we guide the teams that how this data discovery will happen when we crawl the data, even if the organization is not sure what kind of information they have within their data. Metadata refresh, we have already talked about that earlier, that yes, it's part of governance, it's part of cataloging, to have the information of the metadata structure. Data lineage, yes, the visual flows, how the data is moving, very important for anyone to understand, what is the data environment within the organization. Data dictionary, one of the pain point that we have seen in many organizations, that we have the technical information of the tables, of the columns, that are available, but the business terminology against those technical information or the technical names is not there. What this column means, what is the importance of that column from business angle, it's not there. So cataloging basically covers that gap as well. Semantics research, end user experience, data profiling. Again, data profiling comes from the data quality aspect as well, and then the impact analysis. If something happens to this particular area in the data set, what will be the ripple effect down the line? Now, this impact analysis is directly linked to data lineage as well. Not only, once you have the visual information, it would be much more clearer that if we change certain area in that data point, what would be the impact down the line? And then also the impact analysis from the performance and monitoring perspective. How good this current framework is doing within the organization. So this is all part of the cataloging tool that governance brings in. Um, then we talk about some data quality tools, right? So now the data governance is one part of it. Data quality is another, you can say, the leg of governance, because without data quality, that governance, the data integrity will be compromised. So data quality rules within this tool, we build data quality rules, we do the profiling. If there are any issues from the data perspective, what is the remediation plan? Who is the steward, owner of this particular area, and what kind of involvement is required from their side? Then, roles and responsibilities, that is from the technical team to the management side, who is responsible to what in that particular area. Notifications, if something goes wrong or if there's an issue in the data, the alerts and notification needs to be sent out to the right person, right people. Masking of data, like encoding and decoding of data. If it's a sensitive data that needs to flow through different system, it needs to be encoded. The right person needs to see the right data. The data should not be available to everyone. So it's basically, helps us to maintain that. Scheduling of, data quality checks, Hadoop processing, and, batch and runtime. We can do these data quality checks on the runtime, on the real time, or even in batch. you can say, formation as well. Some of the features of the data governance tool, basically, uh, it helps in understanding the business terminology from the technical area, how the data is flowing, what is the workflow, what are the policies and processes that have been implemented and needs to be implemented. The dashboards or the reports that are generated on different key areas that are related to different stewards. What is the health of our data? What are the, where are the gaps and opportunities? So that also gives information through reporting and dashboard. Then, link data elements, meaning that data entry points, how they are talking to each other based on, the lineage that we saw, that each area is dependent on which area and how much dependency is there. Um, Governance tool also helps in integration and gelling of the data through and through the entire platform or the organization. Collaboration is one, again, key aspect of it, because governance eliminates working in silos problem. Now, it break down these silos, and now this tool or this governance helps in collaboration, right? Meaning that, everyone is on one page, on the same notes, and they are following the company vision and direction from the data perspective, and how that governance should have been, implemented. And obviously, the notification feature is from the performance aspect as well, from the data quality aspect as well, and from, cataloging features as well, that okay, what happened, and the alerts needs to go to the right people at the right time. So these are some of the expertise, or you can say the areas Royal Cyber helps when they are when they are implementing data governance for any of our customers. Okay, so now we have already discussed, some of the USPs Royal Cyber brings when implementing data governance, right? Now, another key aspect of for any business is, we talked about expertise. Now we talked about some of the hot tools in the market, and we have experts, who have used and implemented governance using these tools. So if we want to implement data catalog, so there are famous platforms, and we have expertise in Alation, Collibra, Informatica, Azure Purview. If we need to implement data quality solutions, right? So Talend, precisely, Informatica, and Synity. So uh, these are some of the tools that we have expertise in. And if we talk about data security area, so we have used security protocols, policies, processes using tools like Imperva, Privacera, BigID, and Okra. And when we talk about, how we're going to integrate everything together for the organization, so we have expertise in, famous platforms like Fivetran, Matillion, Airby, DBT. Now, the tools that I mentioned over here, these are some of the tools, the hot tools that are in the market right now. Now we have expertise in other tools and areas as well, but yeah, just for the sake of time, I'm just highlighting some of the areas or tools that we can help our customers with. Now coming to some of the use cases, so we're almost at the end of this data governance you can say, the presentation that we're doing right now. So some of the use cases, I'll quickly go through, some of the use cases and how we have helped the customer. So now these are some of the areas that are related to data governance, right? And we have built solutions based on these key areas. So these are basically some of the key pain points of our customers have faced, and we have came in and using governance, alleviate the problems. So if we talk about data catalog platforms, sorry, if we talk about regulatory compliance, now we have a use case where this big company, I think it was one of the mattress firms. So they were having issues with, regulatory compliance, and we came in and helped them to, to implement those compliance changes that were mandatory for the audit purpose. Now, when we talk about use cases, right? Uh, Sorry, one second. Yeah. So when we talk about, different use cases, so data quality improvement. Now, that is one of the key pain points, especially for organization who are more towards leaning towards modernization approach. Now, they have huge amount of legacy source systems, and what is happening is that when they bring in all that information into a central repository, which could be an on-prem warehouse or a cloud warehouse solution, right? So the data integrity, the health of data we have seen is not that good. Now, having that, data governance check in place, we have seen, there are data quality tools that are part of the governance implementation that helps alleviate that problem. And if you have, healthy data, so and the integrity of the data is not compromised, so then your reporting, your decision making will be much more effective. Now, another pain point of, the customer that we have seen is the data mapping. Now, when we talk about data mapping, we have seen customers who are facing the problem that they have huge number of tables, they have different data sources, but where they don't have a clear picture of how the data is talking to each other, how the data is being mapped between different data sources. Sometimes it seems pretty easy for the customer that, yeah, I mean, just bring in two or three data sources, data into one area, we're done. And yes, then we can merge the data and get some good, reporting out of it. That's usually not the case because a proper data mapping is missing. How we are going to talk, how the data is going to from one data source will talk to the other data source. What are the key points, key areas? Now, when we apply governance, we apply data governance practice over here. So it helps in understanding that before we jump to the reporting or the analytic part, we need to see that how that mapping could be done, and then we build that data mapping up. Uh, Metadata management is again part of data mapping, meaning that, the metadata structure of the tables or the data sources that we have. If you have a clear picture of your data in a visual representation, how the data is flowing, so that will give a realistic understanding of where we are at and what needs to be done. So metadata management is another pain point that, our customer have faced, and we have used governance to alleviate that problem. Now, there are many areas like trustworthy reporting, data access management, data stewardship, reference data management. Now, I'm just going to list the main areas. I mean, these are the challenges that the customer have faced. But some of the main areas that have some of the main challenges that have popped up more frequently is, another one is the data access management. Now, when we say data access management, we have already talked about, there was this another big engineering company, and what happened was that, you know uh, the managers came to our team and they mentioned that, yeah, I mean, we know the data is there, but we don't know who is the owner of it, how to access that data. Meaning that there was no clear path of who is controlling that data and how it can be accessed, right? The data governance basically helps us to clear to lay a clear path of, okay, which data lies in which area, who have access to which data. So that means that we don't need to run around and ask that, okay, how to get that data. It's there. We exactly know how to get it. And the data stewardship part, again, very key feature is again linked to data access management. And this is one of the biggest challenges that we have faced. Many of our customers have complained that, yeah, we know the data points, we know what our data is, but no one is willing to take the ownership, either due to the quality of data or the responsibility, because this data stewardship is key for enhancing the performance and evolving the data governance framework. And this data stewardship is directly linked to data quality improvement, because if I am a steward and I know the data point or the data object that I'm responsible for is healthy, the data integrity is not compromised, I will be happy to take that ownership. So all of these use cases that you're seeing right now, everyone is interlinked to each other, some more, some less. But when we apply governance or the data governance practice, these pain points immediately go away.
Yes, so this is thanks a lot. Thank you, Awais. Thank you, Lamia. So I just want to you see the excitement in everybody's face, tone, how they speak. We can keep on going on and on because we do so much work across multiple clients. So this is part of part of a continuous sessions that we are going to be we normally do, right? The next session is going to be on the data vault, but obviously looking at where we are, we can also touch base a little bit about data governance while we are talking about data vault also, right? Uh, we can, the next steps, as you can see in the screen here, we'll request for a governance assessment. We can show you, go deep dive into what are the different use cases that we have resolved. We can also schedule some live demos, and of course, excited to join your transformation journey, right? So thank you all for joining today's session on data governance. A special thank to Lamia and Awais for sharing the valuable insights around building trust and ensuring compliance. Uh, at Royal Cyber, we have had the privilege of partnering with global clients, right, to modernize their data systems from the master data management to metadata cataloging to regulatory compliance to something I've learned, new data democratization, and this is across multiple industries, multiple platform, right? Again, as I said, this is part of our continuing session, and we look forward to continue our conversation. Our next session will be on Data Vault, where we will explore agile data modeling techniques for scalable, audit-friendly enterprise data warehouses. So, Lamia, over to you, but thank you all for joining us, and thank you once again for your time and participation today.
Yeah, I think you said it all. So please
Thank
feel
you.
free to reach out to us and, feel free to send over all your questions, concerns, and, we'll keep in touch. As, sort of said, we'll have a lot of series, interesting topics coming up next. So, yeah, I will keep you posted. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ran. Thank you very much.